Hello everybody, and this is the second and final part of episode 53. You probably already saw the amount that I got for episode 53, but there's still one more thing to go, and that's to tell you the amounts to every single episode that I did for Deal No Deal, plus this one. Now, I've already totaled up every single amount, and I'll let you know the final tally after. So now let's get to the 53 episodes, and I'm going to tell you their amounts that I got. Alright, the first episode aired on the 12th of April, 2021. I got $58,000, and that was a deal. Now, the case that I actually had, unfortunately I should have taken the case, was the $300,000 case. So I ended up with $58,000 for the first episode. The second episode, I ended up with $120,000. And I only had $100,000 in my case, so that was a pretty good deal. That aired on April 19th, 2021. That was the second episode. The third episode was on April 26th, 2021, and that was the last episode that aired in April for 2021. I ended up with $203,000, and my case had $200,000, so I ended up with a pretty good deal. Episode 4, I ended up keeping the case, and I ended up getting $400,000. And this was the first episode that aired in May of 2021. It aired on May 3rd. This was episode 4. I ended up, of course, like I said, getting $400,000. Episode 5, I ended up getting $35,000. And that is because I took the deal. And the case that I ended up having was $25,000. And this aired on May 10th, 2021. The sixth episode, I ended up getting $100,000, and that's because I kept my case. This episode aired on May 17th, 2021. Episode 7, I ended up getting $203,000, and that was because I took the deal. And the case that I had was only $50, so I ended up making a great deal. This aired on May 24th, 2021. Episode 8, I ended up getting $170,000. And unfortunately, I made a bad choice by taking the deal. I actually had $500,000 in my case. This was the last episode that aired in May of 2021. It aired on May 31st. Episode 9, I ended up getting $120,000. And this was actually a great deal because I only had $10,000 in my case. This aired on June the 7th, 2021. It was the first episode for June 2021. The 10th episode was the first $1 million that I ever got. I kept my case and I made the right decision. I kept the million throughout the game, and I ended up getting the first $1 million case, and it was a really special moment. This aired on June 14th, 2021. It was the 10th episode, and so it took me 10 tries to get the million. Case 11, I ended up having, in my case, $75,000, but I took the deal, which was, of course, $191,000. So I actually made a great deal. And actually, this was a now that I think of it, this was a recommendation by Aubrey Scott. He was actually the one that took the deal, and I actually had him for his birthday. And this aired on June 21st, 2021 on his birthday. And of course I had him on this particular episode. And he made the right decision by taking the deal. And the deal was $191,000. That of course also, it was also a part of my score as well. I also gave $191,000 to Aubrey Scott's score. Put that in Aubrey Scott's score as well. Episode 12, I kept the case and I ended up with $500,000. This aired, and it was the last episode for June. It aired on June 28th, 2021. Episode 13, I ended up having $75,000 in my case, and I of course kept the case. This aired on July 5th, and it was the first July episode for 2021. Episode 14 was the second time I ended up getting the billion because I kept the case, and this aired on July 12th, 2021. It was the second $1 million case that I got during the season. Episode 15, I ended up with $66,000 after taking the deal, and it was unfortunately a bad deal because I had $200,000 in my case. I should have went all the way, and I didn't. This aired on July 19th, 2021. Episode 16, I ended up getting $125,000 because I took the deal. And it was actually a great deal because I had $75,000 in my case. This was the last episode for July of 2021, and it aired on July 26th. Episode 17, I ended up having $25,000 in my case, which of course I kept. This was the first episode for August, and it aired on August 2nd, 2021. Episode 18, I ended up accumulating $200,000. That's because I had my case and I kept it and I went all the way. This aired on August 9th, 2021. Episode 19, I ended up getting $250,000 because I took the deal, because I only had $5,000 in my case, and I made a great deal. This aired on August 16th, 2021. Episode 20, I ended up taking the deal, and it was $115,000, and I actually made a great deal, and what I had in my case was only $50,000. This aired on August 23rd, 2021. Episode 21, I ended up getting $145,000, and that was because I took the deal. I actually made a great deal on that because I only had $75,000 in my case. This was the last episode for August, and it aired on August 30th, 2021. The first episode in September was episode 22, and I ended up taking the deal for that. I ended up taking $232,000 because, surprisingly enough, I actually made a good deal because I had $200,000 in my case. This aired on September the 6th, 2021, which of course was my dad's birthday. Episode 23, I ended up with $300,000, and that's because I kept the case, and I actually made a good decision on that. This episode aired on September the 13th, 2021. Episode 24, I ended up getting $148,000, and surprisingly enough, I made a good deal because I only had $100 in my case. This episode aired on September the 20th, 2021. Episode 25, I ended up getting $135,000 because I took the deal, and unfortunately it was a bad deal because I actually had $400,000 in my case. And it was the last episode for September 2021, and it aired on September the 27th. Episode 26, I only got $51,000, but I made a good deal since I only had $300 in my case. This was the first episode that aired in October, and it aired on October the 4th, 2021. Episode 27, I ended up getting $103,000, and surprisingly enough, I made a good deal because I only had $50,000 in my case. This aired on October 11th, 2021, which I think was Columbus Day. Episode 28, I ended up getting $232,000, and I made a good deal because I only had $200 in my case, and this episode aired on October the 18th, 2021. And then on the final week of October of 2021, I ended up with the third $1 million winner of the season, and I kept my case, and it had $1 million in it. This aired on October 25th, 2021, and I did mention it was the last episode for October of 2021. Episode 30, unfortunately, was a bad episode for me because I only kept $50. Because I only had $50 in my case. This aired on the first day of November of 2021. It was the first episode for November of 2021. Episode 31, I did better because I got $50,000 and I kept my case. And this, of course, aired on November 8th, 2021. Episode 32, I ended up with $500,000 in my case. And I kept my case, and this aired on November 15th, 2021. Episode 33, I ended up with $232,000, and I ended up making a really good deal because I only had $200 in my case, and this episode aired before Thanksgiving on November 22nd, 2021. This was the week of Thanksgiving. Episode 34, which was the week after Thanksgiving, I won $100,000. And this was the final episode for November, and it aired on November 29th, 2021. Episode 35, I ended up getting $95,000 because I took the deal. And surprisingly enough, I made a good deal because I only had $75,000 in my case. This was the first episode that aired in December, and it aired on December 6th, 2021. And then, of course, the day I had Rob Strickland a part of this episode, which was, of course, episode 36. This was the fourth $1 million that I got. Unfortunately, it ended up being the last $1 million that I got during the season, unfortunately. I wasn't able to get the $1 million at all this particular year, 2022. And the last $1 million was, of course, in December of 2021. And this episode aired on December 13th, 2021, which, of course, was the last $1 million that I actually got. And I had Rob Strickland as a part of this particular episode. And then, of course, I had a double episode because what I usually do near the end of the year, I usually do my countdowns. So I ended up, instead of doing an episode on the 27th or the 28th of December, I decided to put it on December 20th for both episode 37 and 38. So it was a double episode. The first episode was, of course, I ended up with $100,000 in my case, and I, of course, kept it. And the second episode for the double episode, and of course this aired all together, I ended up getting $125,000, and instead of going all the way, I really should have gone all the way for this one because I ended up taking the deal, and my case had $300,000. This, of course, was the last episode that I did for 2021, and it aired on December 20th for both 37 and 38. Both episode 37 and 38 aired on December 20th, 2021. Of course, I got $100,000 and $125,000. So that was a total of $225,000 for that double episode. Episode 39, which of course was the first episode for 2022 and the first for January 2022. And unfortunately, my luck ran out. I ended up getting $75 for that particular episode. And this aired on January 3rd, 2022. This was the first episode, like I mentioned, for January. The 40th episode, I ended up with $500,000. And that's because I kept my case. And this aired on January 10th, 2022. Episode 41, I ended up getting $198,000. Surprisingly enough, both the 41st and the 42nd episode, I ended up getting $198,000 on both episodes. And surprisingly enough, I made bad choices on both of those because I had $500,000 in my case both times. So 2 times in a row, I actually had the $500,000 in my case, and I took the $198,000 on both episodes. The 41st episode aired on January 17th, 2022, and the 42nd episode aired on January 24th, 2022, which of course was after my birthday. My birthday was of course January 21st. And of course the 41st episode was the last episode before my birthday. The 43rd episode, I ended up getting $25,000 in my case. And this was the last episode that aired in January. It aired on January 31st, 2022, which of course was the last day of January. The 44th episode, I ended up keeping my case and getting $10,000. And this was the first episode that aired in February, and it aired on February 7th, 2022. Episode 45, I ended up keeping my case and getting $75,000. And this aired on February 14th, 2022. Episode 46, I ended up getting $212,000, and I should have went all the way for this one because I had $400,000 in my case, unfortunately. And this, of course, aired on February 21st, 2022. And the last episode that aired in February was, of course, episode 47, and I made a bad deal with that one too. I ended up taking the deal for $37,000, and I actually had $75,000 in my case. And this, of course, aired on the last day of February, which, of course, was February 28, 2022. March, of course, this is the first episode that aired in March. This is the 48th episode. I ended up keeping my case and ended up getting $400,000. This, of course, aired on March 7th, 2022. Episode 49, I ended up getting $200,000 in my case because I took the deal instead of going all the way. And I made the right choice because I only had $100,000 in my case. This, of course, aired on March 14th, 2022. Episode 50, I ended up keeping my case and I actually got $75,000. This, of course, aired on March 21st, 2022. The final episode that aired in March was, of course, episode 51, and I ended up keeping my case for $100,000. So I ended up having $100,000. And this episode aired on March 28th, 2022. And it was, of course, the last episode that aired on March of 2022. The 52nd episode, I ended up only getting $5,000. And this, of course, aired on April 4th, 2022, and it was the first episode that aired on April of 2022. And finally, the last episode, episode 53, which you just watched in part 1, I ended up keeping my case, and that ended up with $75,000. And of course, today is April 11th. So now, I'm going to tell you the final tally before I wrap this sucker up for this season. I'm glad that you all enjoyed it. I will say that. So the final amount that I got, because I got $4 million cases, surprisingly enough. So if I add all that plus the amounts in between, I racked up a grand total for the season. $11,614,125 for my high score. That is right. $11,614,125. That's my high score if I ever want to do another season. Hopefully I will beat that in the near future, but for right now I'm going to take a break for this particular set of Deal or No Deal episodes. I'm going to take a break from doing Deal or No Deal episodes for now. If you want me to bring another season of, if you want me to do another season, I should say, of Deal or No Deal, just let me know. Just let me know. You can leave it, tell me down below in the comment box. Let me know. Because this is it, folks, for the season. And I don't know yet when I'm going to do the next season. If I'm going to do the next season this year. I haven't decided yet. If you want me to do another season, just let me know. I might do one later this year. I'm going to take a break from doing Deal or No Deal episodes. Because the thing is, I got a lot of things that I would like to do for this channel. But the good news is, I will most likely be back doing new Deal or No Deal episodes for you guys if you really wish. Alright, folks, I thank you all for watching this season of Deal or No Deal. It's been a pleasure. So if you like these videos and you like any videos on the Video Game Chronicles channel, please subscribe. And there's always a notification bell. When you click the subscribe button, there'll be a notification bell that you can click. Click on it if you want to be notified of future videos. Thank you all for watching this season of Deal or No Deal. And I'd like to thank Aubrey Scott. Now that I think of it, I also had Willie in one of my episodes as well. Fanimation XV. I had Fanimation XV as well. I'd like to thank him as well. I forgot to mention him because I did one of these episodes with him. I think it was in December, but I'm not. I forgot. Because he did help out. He did help out with one particular episode, but after that, he wasn't interested in Deal or No Deal, so I didn't have another episode with him because he just wasn't interested in Deal or No Deal. But I'm still going to thank him anyway for being a part of this season. I'm going to thank him, I'm going to thank Aubrey Scott, and I'm going to thank Rob Strickland for being a part of this season. Thank you all. Thank you all for being a part of this season. And for people that are watching, I thank you as well. I hope you all enjoyed this season of Deal or No Deal. It's been a pleasure doing these episodes for you guys. Alright, folks. And hopefully Aubrey Scott comes back soon. Because I don't know if at the time of this recording, I don't think he's back. But he might have come back. I don't know. I'll probably let you know if he's come back in the premiere box, or the chat box, I should say. Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and it's been a pleasure for doing these episodes. Stay safe and stay awesome, and happy gaming.